Okay, so we're going to progress to the final module of our CS150 course, and we're going to talk about classes and object-oriented programming. Up until now, we've been pretty much doing procedural programming, but this is going to be a new paradigm in terms of how we program uh, in order to solve problems. So last time we looked at struct variables, and structs are a collection of logically related data items. These are the member variables of the struct, and they can be different types, and they usually are of different types. And so they can be used to describe real-world structures, and they act like a new data type. We declare the struct and initiate struct variables that describe individual objects within the program and use those to solve the problems. In most cases, we get access to the member variables through our dot operator or member access operator, and we treat the struct variable as a whole in certain cases. We can assign one to another, pass them as arguments to functions, and we can return them from non-void functions. So now we're going to move into an idea called classes. And so a class is a structured data type that is a new data type that we define. Variables of this type are called objects, and they're going to be composites of related items, usually of different types. And we treat the composite as a whole, but still allow access to the components. Well, this sounds pretty much like a struct. It is, but in addition, a class has member functions, and these are actions that the object can perform. So the terminology in classes is also a bit different than with ordinary variables. So we declare a variable of a particular type, but we instantiate an object of a class. So there's some different terminology. So we use classes and objects because it represents a natural view of the world. What are the important entities in your problem? What kind of data describes them? And what are the natural activities they should be able to carry out? So a lot of times we describe classes as having names, attributes, and operations. That is, they have a name, they have attributes, which are things that describe them. Those are typically the member variables, and they have operations, which are activities that they can carry out, which are member functions. After you provide this information as it relates to the problem you're trying to solve, you can write a class or classes for them. So step one, describe the member variables. What are the things that describe this class? As far as the data that it contains and which types work best for those individual pieces of data. And that's done just like your struct definition, except we use the word class instead of struct. And then we describe the member functions. And these are the declarations for the things that the class should be able to do as a behavioral entity. You'll need the declarations and the definitions to do that. So, for example, we could have a patient at a medical clinic. The member variables would be things that describe a patient: first name, last name, date of birth, height, weight, blood pressure, perhaps their medical insurance number, date of birth, I think is in there. The member functions would be the things that the patient can do, or what we would like to be able to do with the patient class. For example, pay the bill, submit a claim, get details, get their age. Those would be things that we could do with the patient class, and those would be the member functions. So here's what it would look like in C++. And again, don't worry too much about the details. We're going to get into that as we build classes. But right now, we're just covering a little bit of the theory. We start with the word class and give it a name. In this case, it's patient. Public are things that anyone can do within the class, and those are typically the member functions. So here we're able to output the patient details and get the patient age. And then private are the member variables. So we have a string for first name and last name. Their date of birth, year, month, and day are described by integers, and their height, likely in meters, would be a variable type double. And notice that we terminate the declaration of the class with the semicolon. So next time we'll get into some of the details of making a class and how we actually go about creating one and declaring them. Thanks so much for watching.